Well, hey, you are watching the video version of the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. It's so good to have you here. You can find this show on any of your favorite podcast platforms. There's the art, looks like that. You got Apple Podcasts, you got Spotify, you got all the rest. Anywhere you want to find it, you can check it out. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Well, welcome back to the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. My name's Austin Savage, and I'm here with my good friend and business partner, Kelsey Zarko, and we're glad that you are here. Kelsey, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited for this episode and all the fun that's coming.
Yes, and if you are watching the video version, you may notice that Kelsey has a pretty crazy background here right now. What is this, a painting behind you? What is this?
Oh my goodness. I feel like the last few episodes, all we've talked about is how stressed I am and all the crazy things going on in life. But yes, I'm moving. We built a house and we finally get to move into it. So my house is in boxes, and that's why I'm just filtering out a little bit. That was weird.
Yeah, cool. It is kind of weird. Anyways, today on the show, it's our first time having a guest on the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast, and I am very excited about it. When I was in college, one of my best friends started working for an organization called the Forgotten Initiative, and he just really loved it. It was a really cool opportunity. Got to talk to him about it, and with all of that, like him starting there and things, I started to get more connected to the Forgotten Initiative. I met their founder, Jami Kaeb, who is with us today. And when we launched this business, the Forgotten Initiative actually became one of our first clients. And so this is kind of like a double exciting episode because not only are we featuring just someone with an awesome story, with an awesome organization, but also one of our clients. So Jami, welcome to the show. We are very excited to have you.
Thank you. It is great to be here with you.
Yes, it's going to be fun. Jami, how are you today?
You know, I am just doing great. I actually told you earlier that I had a delicious potbelly sandwich. I did not mention that I also had a vanilla latte today. So
that's delicious. From where?
Yes, from Coffee Hound.
Okay. Very good coffee shop, Bloomington, Illinois. Correct.
Tonight, I am headed to my daughter's cross-country meet. So,
wow.
These are 3 big deals.
Yeah. Do you like cross-country meets?
I love cross-country meets.
Why?
Oh, because it's so inspiring. It is, you see these kids it is not a glory sport. And you see these kids just running hard, and it's discipline and it's training. I tell my kids all the time, it's the journey of life. Mm-hmm. And they finish, and sometimes they throw up or they cry, or it's just emotional.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And you get to run after them and find them in different spots and scream like crazy. And it's just, my daughter has told me there are times that I am not helpful. I think that I am helpful, but she says that there are times when I'm screaming at her that she feels like going slower.
Like it's just too intense for her. That's a statement of life right there.
I cannot be who I am not.
Yes, it's true. My brother used to run cross country when we were in high school. And my parents felt the same way. They loved the cross country meets because they just felt like it was one of like the rare sports where everybody is cheering everybody on.
Yes.
Like you're not just, you're not rooting against anyone. You're just cheering for everybody as they run past. And it's pretty cool. Well, generally, but at the end, not so much. But
in your heart, you're a little bit rooting against people, but you still clap for them.
Exactly.
Were you a runner too?
No, not even close. No, I have tried running. I was very proud of myself when I made it 2 miles, and that's the longest I have run. And no, I'm not even close to a runner. But my husband, Clint, was a state runner.
Okay.
Really?
So he was very, very good. Yes.
Yeah. Cross country as well, or track?
Cross country and track, yes.
Both. Wow.
So
crazy.
Yes, he is amazing.
A story that pops in my head is when I was so I went to a Christian school for elementary before I went to public school, and you could start sports a year earlier. Like I could do junior high sports in 5th grade. And so I ran track in 5th grade, and I did like the 400-meter race and was by far the slowest, like out of I should not have been running this race. And literally, I had like 200 meters left when everybody else was finishing. And I just remember like the pity claps from everybody. Like it's just like etched in my memory. I was like, I wish that you weren't cheering me on.
Oh,
good for you for doing it though.
Yeah, you still got to finish, right? So you got to push through.
Life lesson.
Kelsey, should we jump into our this or that for the episode?
Yes. Favorite segment of the show.
Yes. This is something we love to do, Jamie, just to, kind of start some episodes off, choosing between one thing and another, kind of sharing your reason why. Okay. Kelsey, what is our this or that for the episode?
Yeah. So these kind of started as a funny thing because Austin and I have very different preferences. And in our staff meetings, we would argue it out. But today's is fairly simple. We want to know, if you prefer Mondays or Fridays and why.
Oh, I mean, definitely Fridays.
Okay.
But I do like Mondays.
Yeah.
She's like me.
I know. Austin's always like, I like them all. I like everything.
Both.
Yeah, this is both. Okay, so Fridays are awesome because you just kind of feel like, the weekend's ahead. And but I mean, listen, I have 8 children, so that means all of them are home. And on Mondays,
you're just ready.
I send them all off, and I start the week, and I meet with my team, and I get to, do coaching meetings, and I like that. But Mondays are more exhausting. Fridays just feel there's a great vibe on Fridays that I'm feeling it today for sure.
Do you feel like you're more productive on one or the other?
I am not productive of my own, I guess it's how you define productive.
Truth.
I don't do any of my own work on Mondays because I'm in meetings most of the day.
Yeah.
But I hope that I'm very helpful to my team.
For sure.
And so helping them be more productive or walk through an issue or, just be encouraged or challenged or whatever. So I think Mondays are a time to kind of reconnect as a whole team.
Yeah.
We do our normal meetings. So I feel like there are very productive things that happen on Mondays. I'm actually trying to make Fridays a little more my creative day.
I saw that. Mitch was telling me.
Yes.
Which is good. I guess it's kind of like free thinking space,
Yeah. And less of us are in the office. On Mondays, we're all in the office. And then on Fridays, we have several who are remote.
Okay.
And so it's not as many people, so a little more quiet. And I'm just thinking, time to think a little and dream a little and write a little.
Nice.
Podcast a little.
That's exciting.
All the creative things. Kelsey, what would your answer to that question be?
I know I'm usually like a strict one or the other, but I do like them both. I love Mondays.
For you too?
I love, they're just different things about them that are exciting.
Yeah.
I love Mondays, very similar to you, Jamie. That's the one day. So we homeschool our kids right now, and Mondays are the one day they go to their sitter all day long, and I work. So it is very life-giving and a nice quiet break. But we do have a lot of meetings on Mondays too. So I sometimes feel like I don't really get anything, quote unquote done, but it's nice and quiet. But Fridays are a day where we have school in the morning, and then I will just try to get everything finished up for the week and, nail everything down with our clients and be able to go into the weekend knowing that my slate is kind of clear. So that feels good too. Just wrap it all up and tie it up.
I love it. I'm going to say the same thing too. This is crazy. It's just this is like the wimpiest this or that ever. But we talked about on episode 2 that I have totally stopped. I don't work on weekends anymore. I did at the start of the year. And so I feel like when Monday comes, I'm just ready. I'm let's get to work. I love what I do. It's, super, super fun. But then on Friday, I'm just it's now my kids stay home on Friday. So I just hear them playing upstairs the whole day. And I'm I want to go play. I want to go hang out. And so it's kind of, I don't know. It's the tension between the two. That's kind of fun. But there you have it. Mondays and Fridays. Kelsey, shall we jump in?
Yeah, let's do it. So, Jamie, I think this will be a fun question for me to hear as well as our listeners. Yep. But for those who don't know, kind of explain to us what the Forgotten Initiative is and just flesh that out and share.
Yep. So our big vision is we want to see people everywhere supporting the foster care community and experiencing Jesus together. So the way that we do this is by helping people launch and lead thriving foster care ministries all over our nation. So we have kind of, if you think of it in business terms, it's like a franchise model where we have local leaders in communities across the nation who are ministering in their area. And we're helping bring the branding, the marketing, the leadership development, the support, all of that. So that's a very big picture view of who we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have an awesome way to just explain that in like 2 sentences. That was incredible.
Have you been practicing?
I mean, it's 10 years and coming,
I know.
So we've explained it so many different ways over the year, but we've figured out our laser focus, and that is all about helping people launch and lead thriving foster care ministries. And that is what we've been doing since the beginning. We just didn't realize that was our laser focus until, recently.
Yeah. What does that, flesh that out just a little bit? Like, what does that look like in practice?
As far as on our side or on the local leader side?
Well, a little bit of both, because it's kind of interesting, just the day-to-day of what you guys call your advocates and the day-to-day of the team that you kind of lead directly.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting dynamic there. So what does that look like?
So on the local leader side, and right now we have 35 ministries in communities across the nation.
Awesome.
And how many states do you know off the top of your head?
25 or 26, something like that.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So cool.
So their job is to connect the church with the agencies, the foster care agencies. And I'll give you kind of a little example of why. So foster care agencies and these workers specifically are connected to every member of the foster care community, the parents, the foster parents, the kids, and of course they are the workers. These are all kind of the people that wrap around kids in foster care. And needs arise in the foster care community. So there's this group of people that has needs over here. And then the church, we have churches all throughout our nation in these communities. They have support to give, but they don't necessarily know who needs the support. And so there's this gap between the agency and the foster care community and the church. And TFI lives and works in the gap. So the advocate, the local leader there and their team is just bridging the gap, is really helping the church meet the physical, the relational, and the spiritual needs of the foster care community.
Yeah.
So that's how we deeply invest in our agency relationships, because like, think about it this way. If you have a problem or a need and you don't know, I mean, it's vulnerable to ask for help, right? So our agencies, it's very vulnerable for them to ask for help for the kids they're serving or for the families they're serving. And if they don't know you, their job is actually to protect these kids in their care. And so if they don't know you or they don't know you're going to come through, they're not going to ask at all. Like, why would we, right?
Totally.
So the agency, the advocate role, I mean, we build relationships and we're there in the long term, and we bridge that gap right between the church and the agency so that they know they can trust us. There's a need. They tell us about it. We know the churches who can meet the need. We tell the church and we help them get connected.
That is so cool.
Does that make sense?
It does. Is that the same vision that you had since day one?
It really is. Yeah. I mean, when I first walked into a foster care agency, into DCFS, over 10 years ago now, I just recognized that there are all of these things that the church can do. I mean, simple things like workers get a call for a kid who's coming into care. They go pick up the child. The child, say, is a 1-year-old in diapers, soiled diapers. They don't have diapers at the office, and so they have to run out to Walmart in the middle of this crazy transition when maybe a child is crying, maybe the child is hungry. I mean, it's like, why do they need to run to Walmart? The church can step in and stock the agency with diapers. That's just one very simple example. But there are a lot of tangible needs like that the agency doesn't need to worry about. Like, we can do that. Yeah. But then going deeper, there's, as you build opportunities and you build trust, like let's say a child needs a bed. That happens a lot in this community and in communities across our nation. But let's say a child needs a bed. A church finds out about the need through TFI. They deliver the bed to the family. There are actually opportunities now to invite this family into church or into a relationship. Can we bring you dinner? Can we meet you at the park? There's relationship. Do you want to come to church? Can we tell you about Jesus? Like, those things take time, and it takes time to build trust, but those are open doors to building trust, building relationships, and helping more people experience Jesus. And it's not only about the church helping the foster care community, because in reality, we need to step into the hurting and those who feel alone and forgotten just as much as they need us to step in, because we need to recognize our own desperate need for Jesus. And sometimes we forget that and feel like we're the ones with all the things to give, but we have a whole lot to receive too. And we've just seen over and over and over, when you connect the two, lives are changed.
Yeah.
That's such a good point.
Before we jump into like some, specific questions about the journey, where did that passion specifically like for foster care start for you personally?
I mean, it started because I was in a situation where we were waiting to adopt for a couple of years, and it hurt bad, and it was heartbreaking. Yeah. And through that, God taught me so many things. He taught me it's not about me. He taught me it's not about bringing a child into my family, but about bringing my family to a child. He opened my eyes to foster care. And then I realized there are kids who are waiting for families. I recognized how much it hurt to wait for a child. But imagine the hurt of kids waiting for families. And that was just, that rocked my world. It's not okay. Had to go do something. And that's what walked me into DCFS. And the rest, as they say, is history.
How long did you guys like actively foster?
Only about 2 or so years, because we had 3 kids, and then we brought in 3, and then they needed adoption. So we said yes, and then our house was full because the state wouldn't let you foster anymore after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can't have, at least at the time in Illinois, I don't know if it's changed, but you can't have more than 6 kids under 18 at once. There was an opportunity, like if their birth mom would have had another baby, that we could have been. There's always exceptions.
Yeah.
But we were not in a place at that time, to take on anymore.
All that to say, the Forgotten Initiative does amazing things. I mean, even for us, I don't know if she still is actively working in our area, but the Peoria Advocate was super, super helpful early on in our foster care journey.
Awesome.
When we started, I think a couple years back, but they put on events at like different churches in the area that we could go to. We got to meet Santa at one of those events, and
awesome.
our kids didn't like it, but we liked it. So they thought it was kind of scary.
That is awesome.
But it was super fun. And so I really love what you guys do, and it's a lot of fun. So question though about the journey, because 10 years ago, you guys started, I know that you celebrated 10 years this year, which is huge congrats to you on that. It is awesome. But when you started, it was just you and an idea. And 10 years later, now you have ministries in, actively operating in 35 different communities across the country, 25 states. You have a team of like 8 people now. Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
And so that is a lot. I mean, that's very different from a scale perspective. So give us kind of some insight, like what has that journey been like for you from a growth perspective?
Well, there's a great saying that I have learned and I hold on to, is growth is never linear. It's up and down and up and down and up and down. But at some point you look back and you go, okay, I have grown, because even though I feel like I'm down right here, my down is not as low as it used to be.
Yep.
And that is the case. I mean, it was startup mode for a very long time. You're just kind of running after this, and you're trying a lot of different things, and you're trying to help people. It was happening fast. People were joining with us. There was no strategic plan to grow. People just started asking, like, I want to do this in my community. I'm following your blog. I see what you're doing. I want to do it in my community. And I was like, okay, let's do it together. And, as we grew, we had to bring on people on this national team which I never told you, I guess, earlier, but so that we can support the leaders that are out there on the ground,
Right.
Marketing materials, leadership development, coaching, tons of resources. I mean, everything that we do on the national side is either to help get more advocates, to bring on the right advocates, our leaders, and to coach the advocates and support them really well while they're with us. So, I mean, we're just all laser focused on that one big thing, help more people launch and lead thriving foster care ministries. So I like to think of it in this way too, how we've had different teams. Our team dynamic has looked different over the years. And there's been beauty in all of it. It's just like a bouquet of flowers. So I love flowers. And if you think about having like 3 different bouquets, and over time, some of the flowers start to die a little bit faster than the others. And so you take out those dead flowers or those wilting flowers and you replace them with some of the healthier flowers in the other bouquets. That's kind of how I look at how our team has been. Sometimes people have left for whatever reason. You know, some have been more difficult, some have been just a season, some have been really hard. But it's been beautiful in the different seasons, but we've needed different people on the team in different seasons, because when you go from, a very, very small ministry to a nationwide ministry that's scaling to hopefully 150 ministries in 5 years,
awesome.
There's a lot of growth that has to be happened. There's a lot of pruning and necessary endings, and all of that has been such a learning experience for me, and a very painful often experience, because you have to recognize, am I here to please people or am I here to please God? And ultimately, has God called me to be, is this just a thing I'm doing, or is this something he has called me to lead and steward? And if that's the case, then I have to do this with integrity, and I have to follow him no matter what the cost. And there's been cost.
Yeah. How does that perspective, so like leading it not just, for yourself, but for God, how does that like change the way that you actually lead and kind of operate the nonprofit from your perspective?
And I would even add to that question, how do you know when you need to like switch that perspective, or like when you're noticing is kind of out of balance?
So 6 questions in one.
Okay. First answer is, I think I'm answering your question first, I think, Kelsey. I believe in the multitude of counselors. So I have a lot of people in my life outside of this office, outside of this team, who I've given responsibility really to speak into my life. I have coaches. I have spiritual mentors. I have counselors. All just really close friends who are accountability partners. Like, I have people who I say, if you're seeing me, go off, you have to tell me, and you have to walk me back, help me. And I really trust them a lot. So I'm very open to the counsel of others. Also, I give that freedom to my team here too. I say, you have to tell me if this ever becomes about me, then we have a problem here. And you gotta tell me. You gotta talk to the board. Like, if I'm not listening, then that's a big problem. In fact, recently we became a 501c3. Up till this point, we hadn't been, because we were operating kind of under the umbrella of another ministry. And so we didn't have to be a 501c3, but I just realized as we grew and as God continues to grow and move us forward, that I need to have the authority that I can be fired if I need to. And so I created a governing board out of our board, but I asked them if they would be governing, and said, you have to, you have the authority to fire me, and you better use it if I go off.
I love that.
So there's that. You just have to have the people over you. And also just intentional time in God's word. It's in the crafting of the vision and reminding myself of why we exist. Like, I remind myself of that a lot. It's simple things like praying before our meetings and leadership team meetings, and just saying, God, help me lead this. It's just recognizing that I am a human, limited human, and if I'm not careful, I will just be about myself. And praise God, he's in me, and he continues to guide me and walk with me. But I've just tried to put those foundational things in place. We have a very strong culture. We have a very strong foundation. And so everybody knows it. Everybody knows what's the expectation. And so we all are guardians of the culture. And so we can all call each other out. Even things like performance review time, I will ask questions about, what are my blind spots? Like, I want you to think of these. So just trying to put a lot of different things in place that I will continue to be reminded of, that this is about God, and just holding my hands open. Whenever I feel like a vision, or he's given me the vision, I do have a sense in my, there's times when I'm just like, I know this is God speaking. And it's not just like, oh, I like this idea. It's like, it's wrapped up in a lot of things, like it's counsel, and it's, it's where the trajectory is going, and he makes it clear, and all of a sudden he's putting all these things in place. And he's just given me that confidence at times when I've had to make those really hard decisions, that this is about him and this is obedience to him. This is not a choice I'm making just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to stand on that, because you wouldn't make the decisions I've had to make if it wasn't out of obedience. It's too painful at times.
At times, for sure.
And there's great things too. I mean, there's wonderful. I mean, it's been an incredible, exciting adventure that it's just thrilling that you're like, oh my goodness, God, you are just incredible, and you are showing up. But it's the things you don't know about when you step into leadership. It's the hard times with people that it's just hard.
Yeah, it's really easy to look at the glamorous side of it, but like you're saying, there is a cost too.
There's a cost. There is, yeah.
Jami, you mentioned the word culture, and I know that is something that's really, really important to you. What has it looked like for you guys to create a specific culture and keep it through different team transitions?
Yeah. I mean, we've had core values for a long time, and we would talk through those. And anytime you're bringing on someone, we're filtering it through those. But I think it was last year or the year before, we actually developed what we call our culture triangle.
Ooh,
and
fancy.
I like word pictures. Can you tell?
Totally. Yeah.
But I describe our culture as a group of people founded on the same, or grounded rather, on the same foundational beliefs. So beliefs is at the bottom of our triangle. With shared vision comes next. Mission, values that drive our behavior, because culture drives behavior. So, for example, if you think of it like this, you're on a road trip, and me and Clint, we take our kids to Florida every single year, and he always plans. He knows which way to go. He's the driver, and we follow along. So let's say he is our leader, which he is, and he has a vision that we're going to go to Florida. And so we all align around that vision. Yes, we're going to do everything. I'm going to get things ready. We're going to break the snack bags. The kids are going to get there. Everything's ready. And we get in the car, and we're on our way to Florida. If we don't have the same, so vision I think of as where we're going. Mission is how we get there. And so if he's like, okay, we're going to take interstate this to this to this, and I'm like, okay, great. And we're just all aligned around that's the way. It's not the only way to Florida. It's just our way that we're going to Florida. And then we always give our kids instructions at the beginning of the trip. And we say, listen, guys, we are about to go on a great family vacation, and we are going to have so much fun.
The vision casting.
Yes. But what you need to understand is you are not going to get everything you want. Yeah. And you're not going to enjoy every moment. And so I just want you to get your head around that now, so that at times when it doesn't feel fair or you're kind of frustrated, just remember we're here to have a good vacation. Yeah. And if we're all aligned around those values, we're going to generally have pretty good behavior, right? We're going to have a pretty good vacation. We're people, so there's still going to be a little friction here and there, but we're going to continue to realign around that. So it's the same, if you think about it, it's the same in an organization, one. But if we go on this vision trip and we're going to Florida, but then Clint takes us to California, we're going to be very upset because he did not align our vision around where we're actually going.
Yeah.
If also we're going to Florida and I jump in and say, I think you need to take this way and turn that way and go this way. And he's like, no, and I'm not just aligned around the way we're doing things. He's going to be frustrated. I'm going to be frustrated. Same goes with the attitudes. If we aren't aligned around the same attitudes, it's not necessarily that they're wrong. It's just that we're going to be frustrated. There's going to be friction. And that's the same way it is in an organization. I say this often, TFI is not the only way or the best way to help people support the foster care community or to experience Jesus, but it is our way. And so if you're going to be part of our way, then we want to make sure you align around the same places. Do you want to go where we're going? Do you want to do it in this way, with this model, with this attitude, with these behaviors? So it's really just aligning each other around the same ideas and finding out, are we a fit? It's less about right or wrong. It's more about, are we a fit? Do we agree? And if we do, let's go for it. If not, then it's better for all of us if we separate or if we just don't join in the first place. Does that make sense?
Gold.
Amazing explanation.
I need to like go back and listen to that one, that little section for like 5 times. That was really awesome. It really was. Okay, we're kind of hopping around here, but I also have another question. You mentioned that you guys have a vision to to have 150 advocates in 5 years.
Yeah.
So we get the opportunity, we talk to all sorts of different leaders, of businesses, nonprofits, of just ideas. And a lot of times I think people, if they are someone who has vision, like they have this big kind of picture of what they want to accomplish, but it's rare that we see people who have set, unless they've been in it for a long time, people who have set like specific goals for what they want to reach. So I'm curious, how did you define that number? Like, where did 150 come from?
Yeah. Well, man, I don't know if I remember exactly. And honestly, it's fairly recent that we defined the actual number also. We have been growing in different ways for the last 10 years. Yeah. Not all wide. We've been doing a lot of deep growth, a lot of culture growth, a lot of figuring out who we are and who we're not. And we're just at this place now where we are just ready. We are ready to go big. We have the infrastructure. We have the right people. We have everyone's focused on the same thing. It's just time. And so we're in 35. We're actually training 6 ministry leaders right now that will be launching in end of October. Okay. And then we're hoping to launch 8 more by end of April. So we're hoping to have almost 50 this spring. Wow. I actually can't remember exactly how I picked the number. So I can't even remember.
Interesting. Was it, okay, so let me ask like a more general question.
Yeah, okay.
Was it through like a strategic planning process, or was it kind of just like a feeling in your gut that you were like, I feel like this is like where we need to go? And neither are right or wrong. I'm just genuinely curious what it was for you.
It was generally not like a well thought out strategic planning. I mean, we have the path, we know how to get there. But it was more like, no, that number is, I'm terrible at math. So I might have done a little this or that with the numbers, but ultimately it was just a feeling, I think. And with it was kind of a, calculated feeling, but not like a massive strategic plan for sure.
Yeah. You did a little equation. You found the number 150. You're like, oh, that one looks cool.
Sounds good.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So, it is exciting to see how we're kind of starting a little bit, slower, and we'll accelerate that growth as we grow and continue to, budget right now is already increasing double this year just with our growth. So we couldn't like grow as much even as we wanted to this year because we don't have enough coaches, and we're going to work to hire another one soon. So there's a path forward. It's very clear of how we can get there. The whole team is aligned, and let's do this.
That's awesome. I love it. That's the rally cry right now.
That's the intro of the podcast right there.
Yeah, let's do this. Just that.
Yeah. Like, who is that man?
Yeah, I thought Jami would. Yeah, this is kind of confusing. That's funny.
Oh man.
Jami, what do you think have been the biggest roadblocks for you guys over the last 10 years?
I think one of the roadblocks has been, I think, my own lack of confidence.
Really?
I just know that I have learned a lot this year. It's been a big learning year about just knowing my role. I mean, we did this thing on Roll recently on YouTube, Austin, and just when sometimes you forget your role. You forget what your job is and what other people's job is. And I have so desperately wanted this ministry to not be about me. And so I have gone from feeling like what if I hold it too tightly? Is that just some past hurts of maybe comments people have made or whatever that I've taken too deeply and allowed to kind of rule my thought of like, if I do this, then that means that. And then also just growing to learn. I'm always learning and listening to podcasts and reading. And so you learn things and you try to implement them. So like learning to give away ownership, I think that was really good. But then I think I went too far and was like almost abdicated ownership, because it was like, oh wait, if I give it away now what's my role? Now I've just given it. So now they're just, I don't want to step on their toes. I don't want to micromanage.
So it like created insecurity. Interesting. Okay.
I mean, I think just there's insecurity in leadership all along in different ways because it's unknown. But I just think it was more like not understanding, like, how do you coach someone and yet give them freedom, but also keep them accountable?
Yeah.
And so fortunately I've had such a beautiful team, and they're, so trustworthy, and they have been wonderful. And so I'm very fortunate with these directors that I have, that they are strong leaders and have been able to, we're all learning along the way. But I just think I don't know. I don't really know if my own insecurity, I think that's my own leadership journey. God has not allowed us to stop growing. And so I think that he has made me step up in times when I've needed to. But I also just think I'm just relearning again that, like, okay, my role is to help us know where we're going, to set the vision, and then to make sure we are reminded of that vision over and over. But I have wonderful people to figure out how to do it. But it's always a learning thing. I think that's something that I hope anyone listening hears, is you never feel like you know exactly what you're doing. And especially as a leader, because you are out in front in the unknown. Like, that's actually where you're supposed to live. And so if you feel like you know exactly what you're doing, you're probably not stepping out in faith enough.
That's good.
A word.
Yeah.
You mentioned that this was a big learning year for you, like in that space specifically. Was there something, were there like resources that you used, or was it just kind of life circumstances coming together?
A lot of life circumstances coming. This year we brought in our 8th child. We did not expect to have 8 children. We thought we were done. Well, we ended up having 7 several years ago, and we thought we were fully done. And then an opportunity presented itself where a young gal needed a place to stay and more stability. And that, along with some other things our family was going through, along with some hard things at work, I just think a lot of things kind of collided. And so I went to biblical counseling, which was hugely helpful to me, reminding me again of, I was trying to wear everybody's burdens, feeling responsible for everybody, and just having to recognize that I'm not responsible for everybody. I'm responsible for me and for the Lord, and in certain ways, definitely with our children, but not for their entire emotional health and being. That's God's job. And so I don't know. This year has just been a year where I've done drastic, we've done some big shifts around here with just the feeling more clear on the direction, bringing up a new director. We've realized we need to move offices because, so many things have happened, and it's just been God has just put the pieces in place, and now we're kind of sitting back and being like, whoa, I see what you were doing there. And so I don't know. I think the obstacle to growth has been, I don't know what the right answer is. I don't want to put it all on myself either, just in the sense that I'm not that important. I think just in my own, I only know me. And you know?
It's a great answer. And honestly, it's a common one, I think. We just did a whole episode about confidence. Just a couple, I think episode 3, right? Is that what it was?
Yep.
And it's just something that we see a lot. It's really interesting how even you could have this big vision and even a confidence in that vision, but at the same time, wrestle with feeling like you aren't the person to get there, you know? And I know that even we've had some of these conversations, Jami, in just meetings that we've had.
Yeah.
And it's just this weird tension that I know a lot of leaders experience, where you have to kind of solidify the fact that I have what it takes to lead my team, but I also have areas of growth that I need to, get serious about and figure out how to shape our team to complement each other, like you were saying, totally. And just pursue this vision together. But it's a hard one. And it's something that I would say in probably 60 to 70% of the initial calls that we have with potential clients, confidence comes up as a very real thing that they are struggling with.
Yeah.
And I think it's just really interesting
Yeah.
how that dynamic kind of shows itself.
Well, it's very easy to look on the outside at another organization. I do remember getting into leadership and realizing, okay, like nobody knows what they're doing. Thank you. I'm
Yes.
thankful, because you put out a good product and it looks
Yeah.
like you've got it all figured out. And you don't. Like, we are all doing our very best, but that is why we need a team. You need different, like, I can only take us so far. Like, if I did not have a team of people, we would no way be close to this. Like, God has gifts that he's given me, and they're needed, but man, I'm not the only one needed. It would not happen. There is just no way. I was sitting around our leadership team meeting yesterday, and I was just like, man, I am so proud of you guys. Like, they are
That's
just
awesome.
killing it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I have told my team too that we are going hard after this vision, and we are going for that 49 at the end of April, and we're going for the 150, but not at the expense of our own souls.
Yeah.
And so if one of us is down and we need to rally around that person, like 49, 50, 150, that means nothing if we're losing ourselves. So it has to be a balance. And I want to model that for my team. Is soul care and figuring out margin. And I mean, I'm a chronic overdoer. And so I have to continue to learn. Like, I have to stop, and I have to recruit the help of other people who are better in their areas than I am.
I think that's such a prevalent conversation right now that we're just hearing from a lot of people of like, we can't just hustle it out and, get to our goals just for the sake of our goals. Like, there's got to be more that we consider. I love that you're talking about that.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, as much as I believe in this vision, and I do, I mean, it is at the core, I want more people to know Jesus. That's at the core of what we do. I know I'm not the only one, and this ministry is not the only way people are going to know Jesus. And he's big enough to use all the people. So it's not on our shoulders. We just get to be part of this incredible work.
Yeah. Jami, something I have been wondering about, we have obviously been partnering with you on a lot of content marketing things over the past year.
And Austin, I'm a big fan of you.
Thank you. Likewise. So, but it really has been fun. You guys are secretly one of my favorite clients, and I might say that to all of my clients.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
Just kidding. But it really has been cool. So we do work with your podcast and blog and social media and email marketing and all sorts of different things that we get to partner with you guys on. But you guys have come a long way from an audience perspective in 10 years. I mean, you have thousands of people who listen to every podcast episode that you guys put out. You guys just crossed the 15,000 follower mark on Instagram. And, obviously those are just numbers. It's not like that is what it's all about. But it's really impressive. And you guys have a very strong community and brand. And so I'm curious, from your perspective, how did that happen? Like, how do you feel like that community really got developed at such a large scale? Tiny question.
I don't know. I think that, I started that Facebook page when I saw a need in my community and said, here's a great platform to get the church to know about the need and put the need out and connect people. And now what is Facebook? Like over
42, I think, thousand.
Yeah. And so we just tried to love on people. I guess that is one thing I do know, is that we just try to add value wherever we go. That we try to be less about here's what we're doing and more about here's something that I hope helps you, or I hope it gives you a voice that you didn't have, so you can share it with someone you care about so that they can maybe understand you better. Because in foster care, it's very easy, especially as a foster parent, any of the people actually care, to feel misunderstood. And so sometimes just being able to share a graphic, and it kind of proves that you're not the only one who feels that way, and you share it and your people can see it, and it just helps you feel like, okay, this is a way I can say basically I'm drowning or I need help, or please understand, without me having to say I'm drowning or I need help or please understand.
Totally.
And so that has been that's been our main strategic focus, is just add value to people, like just care for people, love people, like be us. Like, And I'm just amazed that it has continued to grow. I just think that's the Lord's blessing. But then you coming on for sure has been huge because you're able to just help us to think, be even more intentional in caring for people.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, for sure. That's what we want to be. We really do care about people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's been fun to see it too from, back 10 years ago. I remember I lived in Central Illinois then, and I remember when it was starting, and now I live here in Dallas, and one of my best friends is a foster parent, and she's like, oh yeah, I follow them. I know the Forgotten Initiative. And I'm like,
crazy.
it's just really fun to see it all connect.
It is.
So cool.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. It is just mind blowing. And I'm just like, Lord, you are just something.
Yeah. It's really cool. And I think, I love your phrase, add value. That's something that we say a lot as well. And whatever that looks like for people, I really think that I mean, it's what sets you apart. Like it's how people connect with you because you have helped them in some way. It could be encouragement. It could be practical, like advice. It's what makes the difference. I think you guys have done a really good job with that.
I think that when we first started, now we've been creating a lot more of our own content. Yeah. Especially with you coming on. And, but I think that before I always said the phrase, because I heard this once on a podcast, maybe by Michael Hyatt, be the DJ and play the hits. And so that was kind of our strategy when we were smaller and when we didn't really have the whole team to be like creating content is like just find out what's good and relevant and share it so that you can kind of be a collection of the best so that people can know they can come here and they're going to get good content that's helpful. And I think that helped develop who we were because we would pick what was true to us. And then as we've grown, we've been able to just make our own content and continue and be who we are. So I think that that's a great strategy to start when you don't have the team to be writing and making the content.
Yeah.
That's
great advice.
I feel like this entire episode has been like one giant mini class in this
like
topic. So it really is.
Here.
But if we could wrap it up with just to dial in, what would your advice be to someone who is starting something right now? Like Austin said, we have so many clients we talk to that are starting out, or people, kind of listen to this podcast for that. So if you can put it into one answer, what would it be?
I mean, I'm coming from a faith perspective. So first of all, I remember this from when we first started is not a young man, actually. He was like my parents' age. And he said, who's your prayer team? And I was like, I don't have one. He's like, okay, that's where you start. You get a prayer team. And I just think don't do this alone. It is lonely and it is hard. And you need people who can not only encourage you, but can challenge you along the way. So just be vulnerable. I think, so I'm giving lots of answers.
And they're all amazing.
That's okay.
I just think, be you. Be uniquely you. I remember going to when I first started leadership, I did not plan to be a leader. This all kind of started and people started asking for help and I just started helping them. And so all of a sudden I'm kind of put in this leadership position now. And I remember having this false sense of what a leader should be. Is someone who knows what they're doing, who tells other people what to do, is confident and says, and direct. And I was insecure. I was not confident and I was pretty not direct. But that's not even a word. I did
completely not.
And I went to a conference, a leadership conference, and I listened to Patrick Lencioni, and he talked about organizational health, and he talked about caring for your people. And it just started to hit me like, oh, wait, you mean a leader is someone who cares about people and just helps lift up people and encourages people and helps people. And I was like, I care about people. I know how to do that. And it just reframed the entire thought of what leadership is for me. And I started to get excited about what the opportunity I got to do instead of I'm totally unequipped for this and I can't be the kind of leader I think I'm supposed to be. And why am I even here? And what's the point? And so I think that, and Austin, you just told me that not too long ago. Like
Did I?
you reminded me to just be like uniquely me, like just lead the way. And so it's like these are lessons we have to learn over and over again.
Yeah.
But be the way God created you for a reason and for a purpose. Lean into your strengths and then bring other people along who can lean into their strengths, and together you can build something beautiful.
I love that.
So good.
Jami, we could literally talk to you forever, and I
Seriously.
still have so many questions. So we'll have a part 2 someday.
Oh, I love it. This is so fun. I don't know if it's the caffeine from the vanilla latte or the Holy Spirit, but I'm having a great time.
That's so fun. Well, thank you so much for just hanging out with us. And we seriously love being able to partner with you guys. We love what you're doing. And if you want to learn more about the Forgotten Initiative, you should check out their ministry. It is at theforgotteninitiative.org. And we'll put the link to their ministry in the show notes as well. But they are a great kind of just resource to learn from. And if you do know any foster parents, people interested in foster care in your life, you should tell them about this ministry as well. So, Jami, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, man. You guys, thank you. And thank you for all that you do for us. And to all who are listening, you guys need to get connected with Austin Savage and Co.
It is and Co.
And
yeah. We're thinking about it's in the works. We're thinking about potentially changing our name.
Wow.
But I don't know. We're talking about it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in discussion.
It's in discussion. So
Yeah. Very cool. Well, no, I've loved this. I appreciate you guys, and you guys keep up the good work.
thank you, Jami.
Thanks, Jami.